Oh, is that giving us noise? Okay. Sorry, please. I'm trying to get my material out. Okay. Let me go on with this. All right. I want to believe that right now many of you have gone to the discussion forum. I have seen submissions from some of you, but definitely not all. And I want you to know that your participation in the discussion forum is somehow compulsory. And the way you contribute your criticism or your response to other students' submissions, your response to other students' submissions determine how much you are going to score from the discussion forum. Then, let me say again from the beginning that this class is actually what we call facilitation. I'm not supposed to go through all the materials with you. I'm just supposed to kind of run through with you. In fact, we have 8-hour session. 8-hour session. And I don't know what we are going to do. I know you are not going to write this exam until November. So it's either we stop when your exam begins, which is October 20-something, or we will continue so that we can have complete 8 hours. It depends on the concession with everybody. So what I want to do now is to begin from Module 1, which is an introduction to open and distance learning system. I'll kind of run through, then when we can have discussions, we can have questions, I'll try to answer, or I throw it open for anybody to answer. Then I want you to know that if you want to talk, you should please first take permission so that I will know you want to talk, so that I will not just be talking anyhow. I hope that is understood. I think I don't know if you have raised up your hand on your system, but if you don't, you can just talk and say, sir, I have something to say. Once you want to talk, I will see you on my screen here, and I will be able to ask you to speak or not. Then I want us to maintain the best form of decorum. Okay. Hello? Okay. I want us to maintain the best level of decorum. This is a class, and as you will not be shabbily dressed to your real classroom, I don't expect you to be shabbily dressed to my classroom, whether it is virtual or not. It might look informal, but in the real sense of it, we are in a formal classroom session. I hope I'm making sense. Now, let's talk about the history of open and distance learning system. If you are just joining National Open University of Nigeria, I mean, if you do not do your first degree with us, this is the first time you will be getting introduced to open and distance learning things. And so it is necessary for us to talk about the history of the open and distance learning system. Okay. Now, the history of open and distance learning system actually can be, okay, let's begin with the definition of open and distance learning. Now, open and distance learning is made up of two different concepts in education. The first concept is distance education, and the second concept is open learning. Okay. Now, I'm sorry, somebody is trifling with my screen. So I'm seeing a lot of things coming up on my screen, and you are supposed, to see my screen and not to work on my screen. Okay. Distance education has been with us for a very long time, but open learning, it's a very recent phenomenon. So, we have to understand that there has been a consensus definition, there has been no consensus definition of the twin term. But for the purpose of this class, we will hold on to the definition of Commonwealth of Learning, which says open and distance learning as a system of teaching and learning characterized by separation of teacher and learner in time or space and uses multiple media for delivery of instruction. Now, that is the key thing about open and distance learning. That simple definition of Commonwealth of Learning has given us the characteristics of open and distance learning. It went on to say that it involves two-way communication and occasional face-to-face meeting for tutorials and learner-to-learner interaction. So, now, like I've said before in this definition, distance learning is the precursor to open and distance learning. So, let's begin by looking at what distance education is. Distance education has been defined as a field of education that focuses on and technology with the aim of delivering teaching to students who are not physically present in traditional education setting, such as the classroom. Now, other universities, we refer to them as conventional universities. Anything you want to do has to take place within the four walls of a classroom. But in distance education, that aspect is usually not there. Now, there are three-stage development of the distance education. Some scholars prefer to use 5, but I prefer to use 3, and that 3 is in our class as far as we are concerned. And the first stage of distance education is what we call the correspondence stage. Many of you will not be familiar with this stage, but some of us who are a little bit older, we will know what this means. I didn't participate in it, but I know I saw some of the correspondence teaching. But at the level of correspondence teaching, what the university or the college does is to post their lectures to the student. The student receives the lecture from the post office or from the mail. He opens, he reads, he does his exams, and he posts his response back to the institution. So everything went on through the postal system. One of the most common correspondence of education in Nigeria was the Pitman correspondence course, which many of the early secretaries in this country went through. Then we have the University of London External Program, which was chartered in 1858. Pitman's correspondence course is seen as the world's oldest form of correspondence education. Now, then we have the second stage is the sound and video signal stage. During World War I, when radio was invented, in the United Kingdom, the National University Extension Association organized in 1916 at the University of Wisconsin. They have the first educational instruction by radio in 1916. And from that point, correspondence students began receiving instruction from both radio and postal services. Okay. Then after some times, when the video signals were invented, and we now have the television, then the television educational television broadcast came in. And since then, it has received so many patronage all over the world. Unfortunately, please mute your microphone, please. Who is that? Unfortunately, Nigeria has not fully participated in the educational television system. The third stage is what we call the computer stage. Now, the computer stage came in the 1980s when computer technology came in. And since then, every development in computer technology or information and communication technologies have affected learning. And that is what brought us to the concept of open and distance learning. Now, open and distance learning as an innovative movement in education emerged in the 1970s. It refers mainly to activities that enhance learning opportunities within formal education systems or broaden learning opportunities beyond the formal educational system. The idea was to combine the philosophy of open learning and the philosophy of distance education. So that gave birth to open and distance learning. And open and distance learning is one of the most rapidly growing field of education, and its potential impact in all educational delivery has been accentuated through the development of internet-based information technologies, particularly the World Wide Web. The first open university in the world is the Open, they call it now the Open University. It used to be known as the Open University of the United Kingdom. And since the humble beginning, many other open universities have sprung up, and the movement is actually internationalized. Right now, we have a global body called the International Council of Distance Education that brings together all open and distance learning institutions in the world. We have the African Council of Distance Education, and National Open University of Nigeria participates at the global level in all these places. Now, the most successful open universities in the world today are in Asia. And for example, 41 open and distance learning tertiary institutions are in Asia, out of which only 5 are private, which means all the other 30-something are government institutions. I have named the private institutions here. Now, we can take a look at the Nigerian scene, and I want you to know that the global show is actually what went on in Nigeria also. We have the correspondence stage level. We have, well, we really don't have much of TV education or radio education before we launch straight into the open and distance learning. Okay. I want us to know that as far back as 1977. Hello, who is talking? Are you talking to me? Hello? If you are talking to me, you can please let me know. All right. Let me go on, please. Now, most of the early educated people in Nigeria actually went through the open and distance learning. People like one of the most renowned lawyers in Nigeria today, Chief Afe Babalola, got his degree in law through the correspondence education. So correspondence education also was active in Nigeria. Then we used to have the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation doing a little bit of television education program, but like I said, it wasn't very serious. Now, the first open and distance learning mode was employed at the tertiary level by Ahmadu Bello University when it established the year in 1972, which was used for teachers in service educational program in 1975. After ABU, University of Lagos came up with the Correspondence and Open Studies Unit, which is now known as Correspondence and Open Studies Institute, before becoming the Distance Learning Institute. So, University of Lagos became the first Nigerian tertiary institution to operate a dual mode of open and distance learning. Please, if you are making noise at your end, off your microphone, mute your microphone. Who is that? Kindly mute your microphone if you are talking at your end. All right. So, the decision to set up the Open University in Nigeria was first conceived in 1976, when the federal government set up a presidential planning committee under Professor Afolabi Ojo, and the committee was inaugurated in 1980. Then, by 1983 April, there was an act establishing the National Open University. It was then known as NOU, and Professor Afolabi Ojo became the first vice chancellor. However, before the university will go into operation in 1984, the coup that brought in General Buhari made him to suspend the university during his budgetary speech. And as a result of this, Nigeria lost several years of the use of open and distance learning. Now, in 2002, a new open university was formed with the name National Open University of Nigeria during the tenure of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. And Chief Obasanjo did not only establish the university, he also demonstrated the relevance of the university by enrolling as a student of the university immediately he left office as president. And today, we still say that Obasanjo has made history by becoming the first doctoral graduate of Christian theology of the National Open University of Nigeria. Okay, now that is that about the history of Open University. We have gone through the history of Open University in the world, and we're doing a brief of Open University in Nigeria. Now the question is, why do we need open and distance learning university in Nigeria? Okay, now the first issue has to do with the carrying capacity of the learning of conventional universities. Now there is a table here showing us that this data was gathered from 2008 to 2017. It shows us the number of students that applied for university education through JAMB, the number of universities we have in Nigeria, the number admitted, the percentage of the people admitted, and the percentage or the number that is not admitted. Now, this will give you a view of the inability of the conventional universities system to cope with the number of students seeking university education in Nigeria. And it's so terrible, and it is still very terrible, because right now we have close to 2 million people writing JAMB. Conventional universities are not even able to take 1 million students. Now, the second reason is the continuous demand for higher education. You discover that employers today are demanding for higher qualification from their workers. And the situation of the country has made it very difficult for anybody to resign and go to school. So because of this, Open University fills in the gap so that these people will continue to work and at the same time continue to improve themselves educationally. The third reason is the need for lifelong learning. Now, lifelong learning is one thing that is going on in the one concept that is going on in the world today. This is the mind that people can continue to keep for as long as they want to do. Hello, please. Noise is disturbing the class. If the noise is coming from your end, mute your microphone, please. Okay. So, these three reasons is one of the things that is making it compulsory for Nigeria to join the global trend of open and distance learning. Now, let me take a pause here and welcome some questions. Do I have questions? Hello? Now, I'll take that. Okay, Vivian, I can see your hands up, please. Unmute your microphone and ask your question. All right, Vivian. Vivian, I see your hand up. Are you raising up your hand? Okay. Because if you are muting your microphone, I will not be able to hear you. And you indicate by raising, you have raised up your hand and I can see it here. All right. If there is no response from Vivian, I am going to, okay, Friday, unmute your microphone. All right, Friday, I'm listening to you.
Okay, hello, sir.
Yes.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your time and for the lecture so far. I just wanted to ask a question, sir.
All right.
And it's actually relating to the different stages of distance education.
Okay.
Now, the first one, that's the correspondence stage.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask, would we be wrong if we say it was kind of like an open book learning system? Because if I get what you said, well, you said kind of like lecture materials will be sent via mail. I mean,
posted to the student.
To the student, you read it, you answer the test, you do the exams, you now mail it back. To. So for me, I see it like an open book system of learning. Well, I don't know if one will be wrong to say that.
Well, let me say that there is no concept of education that talks about open book education. But there is a form of assessment, a form of exam that we call open book exam. Are you getting me? So they largely made use of the open book exam because the questions are already printed in the lecture materials, and after reading, all the student has to do is to answer the questions and is mailed back. Friday, does that satisfy you?
Yes, it does, sir. I'm okay now, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Do I have any other question? Any other question? Okay. All right, Adams. Okay. Let me try and unmute you. Okay. Adam, unmute your microphone. You need to unmute your microphone, Adam. All right. Speak.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm listening to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. If I may hear you well, you initially said my question is about the establishment of the National Open University.
Okay.
And the question is
National Open University of Nigeria.
That one was established 1984.
That was the first National Open University.
Establishment, National Open University.
Yes.
University was established 1984, right?
Yes.
Then was that one existing before Olusegun Obasanjo established another one?
Yes. Of course, yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That is the question I want to ask.
Okay. Mr. Damo, you want to start the question? All right, I'm listening to you.
Can you hear me well, sir?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah, Mr. Damo, I can hear you very well.
I said the first establishment of the National Open University.
Yes.
With the second one, the difference between the two, can you emphasize on it a little for us?
Okay. Let me tell you, university not even take off officially. They did not admit any student before it was stopped. Do you understand? So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When National Open University of Nigeria came on board, the first set of students were admitted. The first one did not even operate.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other person? Okay. All right. We can move on now. Please, if you are talking at your end and you are not talking to us, mute your microphone, please. Okay. Now, we are going to look at the characteristics of open and distance learning system. And here you will see 9 characteristics. 9 characteristics. And I will quickly go through all the 9. The first one is what we call separation of teacher and learner. Separation of teacher and learner. Now, this is the most basic characteristic of the most distinguishing feature of open and distance learning. You teachers and learners may never get to see one another. Now, this separation of teacher and learner occurs at 2 levels. Separation in place and separation in time. When we talk about separation in place, let's take NOUN as an example. As we are gathered in our virtual class today, we are scattered all across the country. Isn't it? I am sitting here in the headquarters in Abuja in my office. Some of you are in your offices. Some of you are in your house. So we are separated in place. Some of you are in Lagos, some are in Kano, some are in Port Harcourt. We are just scattered all over the country. We are not all together geographically in one place. So that is separation by place. Now, separation in time is not actually existing between us because we all belong to the same country, Nigeria, and coincidentally, Nigeria is on one time zone. Now, but there are international schools that may have to have students like, let me say there was a time I was a student of Open University of Malaysia. And there are 8 hours between Nigeria and Malaysia. So I'm separated physically and I'm also separated by time. So that is one key characteristics of open and distance learning. The second one is the openness. And I must admit that openness is the key word behind the philosophy of open and distance learning. And what do we mean by openness? What we mean is that everything that has made educational system to be closed should be opened. And this happens in 3 levels. Openness as to people, openness as to places, openness as to ideas. So what do we mean by openness as to people? Now, we believe that there are a lot of people who are seeking higher education, but because of one reason or the other, they don't have access to that higher education. Sometimes it could be the educational requirement. Sometimes it could be the student's personality. But openness as to people requires that every form of any characteristics, anything that is inhibiting students' access to learning should be removed. Now, like I've told you before, Asia has practiced the concept of open entry. For example, you don't need 5 credits, including maths and English, to go to Open University in Asia. What they would do is to see the level you are and begin to teach you from that level to make you acquire the required levels until you finish. And this is something we are not doing in Nigeria. At least not yet. Now, openness as to place also means the removal of the boundary of the educational institution. And like what we are practicing now, we don't all need to come to the classroom or a lecture hall in the university classroom before we can receive our classes and the facilitation. We are all gathered together. Right now, we are 119, and I am talking to all of you wherever you are. That is what we mean by openness as to place. And openness as to place has been made so possible by information communication technologies, and especially the use of smartphones. I am sure I have seen somebody who is using an iPhone to access this class. So, which means even if that person is traveling from one place to another, he could sit down in the car. All he needs to do is to mute his microphone and he will be listening to us while the class is going on. Now, openness as to ideas has to do with the issue of copyright, especially over educational materials. Now, the idea is, you know what we call copyright? If I publish a book and I put copyright on it, it means 1, if you photocopy that book and sell, you are causing an infringement. 2, if you take an idea from that book without acknowledging me, you are committing an infringement. But openness of ideas is one of the key operating things in the open system, and it has given birth to 2 major movements. The first one is what we call open educational resources. So this makes educational resources to be open. If I need resources, I know where I can go to get it without paying, because it's under the open educational resource. Then we have what we call the massive open online courses concept, MOOCs. And NOUN is a very, very, very significant participant. In fact, I can say that about 2 months ago, NOUN just concluded a MOOCs training on mass communication. Now, the third concept, the third one is what we call flexibility. It's another distinguishing factor for open and distance learning. Again, flexibility has to be looked at in 3 stages. We have flexibility in time, flexibility in place, flexibility in space. Now, what do we mean by this concept? For example, what we are doing now is what we call synchronous learning. This is the only aspect of our class that will force you to be in class now at the same time with me. The discussion forum is on what we call asynchronous. Whatever you do, if you want to go to discussion forum at 12 midnight, nobody is stopping you. So you can choose to learn at your own time. That is one of the flexibility we are talking about. In fact, this class session, as we are going on, is being recorded. In the next few days, you will see this recording in your portal. So if anybody has missed this class, that person can go back and play the video and see us even as we are now. So those are part of the flexibility in place, in time. Now the flexibility in place still has to do with where you are learning. So, like we have said, some of you are in your offices now, some of you are at home. We are all in various places, and at the same time, we are learning. So, the third phase of flexibility is, sorry, I've mixed this up, has to do with flexibility in pace. Now, what do we mean by pace? Now, it is not compulsory for you as a student of Open University to register for all the courses that the university offer in your semester, the particular semester in your course. If you know that your load of work will not enable you to do that, you can register for at least a minimum of 10 credits you need.
Why did you buy what? Where's the cupcake now? I can't even find the lecturer. What did you do? You did something. Where's Sabbath I told you from? Where's the bus Sabbath?
You are not talking to the class. Can you please unmute your Hello? If you are not talking to us, please mute your microphone. All right. So I was still explaining flexibility in phase. For anything, you cannot be in school for a particular semester or a particular year. You can write to us asking for permission to be away from class, and it will be granted. And when you come back, you will register from where you have stopped. So that means you are allowed to spend more than 4 years if you so choose. Now, the fourth quality here is accessibility. And accessibility means accessibility means making education open or accessible to all others. Now, let's take an example here. Under normal conditions in Nigeria, prisoners have never been able to. But with National Open University of Education, right now, we have a lot of prisoners all across the prisons in the country who are registered as students of NOUN. In fact, the university is giving them scholarship. And we have discovered that, in fact, there have been some prisoners who have come out first class in their studies, that the university has even taken a step further to ask them to go to ask the federal government to make case for them so that the federal government will release them. So,
807.
Another set of people that we have been able to give access to education to are the women in Buda. So, a lot of people who normally would not have been able to be educated are getting access to education. The fifth characteristics of Open University is affordability. Now, compared with all other universities, Open University of Nigeria is one of the cheap, but I can say the cheapest university you can attend in this country. Apart from the fact that our fees are not exorbitant, you also have the opportunity to spread the payment of your fees every semester. That's part of the affordability. Again, once you are registered, you don't need to buy books from any lecturer. You don't need to buy any handouts. Once you have paid your fees, you are free from any form of exploitation or financial pressure from the university until you finish that semester. Now, number 5, open and distance education is technologically driven. And what we are doing right now is a form of example of driving learning electronically. Right now, we are all engaged in what we call...
we are listening to GST 107. We're supposed to teach us GST 807.
You can talk to the person you want to talk to by muting your microphone. Don't disturb the class.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay. What we are saying is, whatever we are doing now is an example of driving education with technology. We are kind of conference class, or we call it virtual class, we call it e-class, call it e-learning, call it learning. Then whatever we are doing, those places. And the idea is you can have your learning anywhere, anyhow, whenever you want. If somebody's audio is disturbing the class, please mute your microphone to disturb the class. Now, another characteristics of open learning is
it's very bad.
Media. You have some material on screen, some material, internet, you have some videos that are posted in the portal of this class that you can watch on every segment of the course. So that is what we call mixed media courseware. Okay. Now, another characteristic is what we call interactivity. As we are now, there are about 3 forms of interactivity going on. You have lecturer-student interaction going on. We have learner content interaction going on. We have learner-to-learner interaction going on. And we also have learner to technology going on. So those are the four major forms of interactivity in the open and distance learning system. Now, what do we mean by learner to content interactivity? That is when the learner is having access or interacting with the course material. And with the course material placed on my screen, you can see that learner to content interactivity. No. Learner to instructor interactivity. At this point, I am an instructor. You are a learner, and we are interacting with one another. Now, the third one is learner to learner. I know the last time some people were talking, I can see somebody say that we are having GST 807 here. That's a form of learner to learner interactivity. Well, because we are all using one form of technology, either your laptop, your mobile phone, your desktop, every one of us is going through technology interactivity. Now, the next quality of open and distance learning is centeredness. We discover that in the open and distance learning, everything centers around the learner, and that is what this diagram is trying to teach. This is the conventional education. Teacher directly to the student. This is the learner centered. You find the instructor in the middle, and all the students are interacting between themselves and also with the instructor. Now, I will also take a pause at this point and let us have some questions. Okay, do I have any questions? Anybody?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, what's your name? Hello, what is
My name is from Guso.
All right, from Guso. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes, hello. I can hear you now. Hello, speak. I'm listening to you now. Okay. It looks as if we lost that.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Yeah. Who is coming up? Identify yourself by name. All right, I see somebody that is putting his hands up. Mr. Yusuf, or who is this? Hello? Do you want to talk?
Do you see of the person you're saying lead next?
Hello? Okay. If there is no question, then I can move on.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah, please, what's your question? Give me your name and your question. Hello?
My name is Ezenna Charles.
Okay, Charles, I'm listening to you.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you quite well.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. The lecture has really been interesting. Sir, from what you've related so far about the...
Hello, I can't hear you again. Hello, Charles.
Physical buildings, sir. Why not?
Charles, can you please give me
that it is quite easier
Hello,
for
Charles.
one to assess
Charles.
education.
Hello, Charles.
The Open University.
Charles.
Now, given all this, sir,
yeah. Give me your
sir.
from the beginning again.
Never expected.
Sir, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, so begin your question again.
Okay. I said, comparing open education with conventional education,
yes,
it seemed to me that it is quite easy for one to acquire education through open universities.
okay.
Does this bring to question in any way the quality of education acquired from open university compared to conventional universities?
Okay, thank you for that question. I will tell you that there is no way the quality of education in the open system can be downplayed because of its characteristics or technology. In fact, let me tell you some of the things that many of you do not know. A lot of students in their first semester fail. There is a high rate of failure in the first semester than any other semester because people coming into the open system kind of downplay because of their freedom, because nobody is running after them. They think they can just do anything they want. So by the time they realize the danger, they're already going towards exam. And at the end, they discover they cannot rush it. So when they learn, they begin to sit down to do the normal thing. And let me tell you, there was a particular year, I think 2013, that our law students took the first position in the moot court trial in this country. You want to tell me that the quality of what they have been taught is nothing? They beat all the conventional universities and they traveled to Liverpool in a world conference and beat almost everybody. They went to India. They did excellently well. So this form of education, notwithstanding, the quality of what we are doing stands. And I still feel any student, but my DVC in a forum yesterday was making fun. I said, if any student gets second class lower in the open university, sure that in the conventional, that person will make upper or first class.
Wow.
Yeah, because it needs a lot of commitment, a lot of discipline to survive in the open system of education.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Do I have any other question? We have 8 minutes more, so I'll be trying to round up very soon.
I know. You know what he's saying now? Is here already? It's only that some certain things. I think no. The people are asking questions now. You know what I mean? When you ask questions, how will you raise up your? He's here now.
All right. They are doing their personal thing. Okay. So let me begin to sign up. It's been very nice to have you on. I want to believe that.
I have a question, sir.
You have a question?
I have a question, sir.
Okay, please come up with a question. We still have about 7
Hello,
minutes.
sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Bashir.
Okay.
Bashir, did I see your hand up?
I want to know, how do we get to know about assignments? Yes, I did raise my hand up.
Hello.
My hand is up.
Okay. That lady speaking, and please speak.
Okay, hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Please, I want to know when exam.
I can't hear you again. I can't hear you again. Speak up.
Good evening, sir. Please, I want to confirm whether the mock examination that we are starting on Saturday, is it a compulsory exam, and what's the time? Because I didn't see any time on it. I just saw text that we are having
to take it, please do. It's just what we are trying to do is to test the software we will use for deployment of the full exam. So if you take the exam, it will help to get familiar to the software, to the program before the exam. But it's not.
Okay, sir. Is that exam going to be recorded?
minutes.
No. It's not going to be a whole day. I think it's just about 2 hours.
Is it going to be objective or theory?
It's going to be an E exam.
Hello?
It's an E exam, electronic exam.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Is it going to be recorded, please?
The exam? No. It's not going. This course is not going to affect you. The course is not going to affect you. It's not going to show on your result. That's why we call it a mock exam.
Okay, it's a test run.
All right. It's all right. Thank you.
Sir.
Is anybody coming up?
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate your effort. Thank you so much.
Thank
May
you
God bless.
for your time.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Who is
Hello?
saying yes?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, some
Hello,
of us, we
sir.
just had information
The
today.
lady is
Is it
talking.
possible for us to still...
Hello, sir. Please, when is the next lecture?
The next lecture is going to be next week, Thursday, 3 to 4.
Hello, sir. Some of us mentioned about the mock exam earlier.
We really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may have to allow me to go at this time. I have another class at 4 o'clock. I need to sign in and dress my class ready.
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me?
Hello, please.
Hello,
Can
you hear me, sir?
Hello,
Can you hear me?
If you have any question for me, put it on the discussion forum, please. I will answer
Okay.
the discussion
Okay,
forum.
sir. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Thank you.
All right, God bless you. Bye, sir.